Hey guys, good evening. This is Srini Dadi from Dadi Cryptos. It is Friday evening, 6 o'clock Pacific time from the West Coast, from close to Newport, Irvine Newport area. Okay, so good morning for folks in Asia, and good evening for most of you in the US. Okay. So let's look at what's been going on. It's been a pretty eventful past 24 hours. I did a brief video in a rush on what was going on, just to give you guys an update on what is going on with the Bitcoin and the prices and where we are. So most of the day, as you know, once the Bitcoin came down early morning US time from 7.2 last night, 7.2, 7.3, all the way. It came down all the way till like 6.4, and then it is now back up. When I last checked, it was around 6.2, 6.8, 50 or something. We look at all the live prices. Okay. The reason for this was my view of what was happening was basically Bitcoin Cash was getting pumped up, mostly in Korea. There were over 2 million transactions in a number of transactions, a lot more than regular exchanges in Korea, and that pumped up the prices of Bitcoin Cash, BCH, in the Bitstamp exchange, which is mostly in Korea. And as you know, not very many exchanges offer Bitcoin Cash in the US or in Europe, or so it's there mostly in those Asian exchanges, and one of them being Korea. And Bitcoin Cash is number one coin in Korea. So it's very important to understand where this is coming from, and it took us mostly by surprise, because most of the Bitcoin holders were waiting for the 2x to happen, because they would have got 2x coin. So the prices of Bitcoin, as we all know, went and zoomed up to the all-time high. About $800 to $1,000 was towards the Bitcoin 2x coin, okay, which the Bitcoin holders would have got. And when the 2x was called off on November 2 days back, on November 8, because there was no consensus, initially there was a big spike in the price, touched about close to 8,000, but then it came down drastically. When I say drastically, in terms of dollars, but not in terms of percentage, maybe like up to 5%. It came down from 7.9 to about 7.4. And then most of the day yesterday, it stabilized around that 7.3, 7.4. And it was doing okay from a pricing standpoint. So in the meantime, Bitcoin Cash was actually pumping up. So I was monitoring Bitcoin Cash closely from about 10 days, because that was one of the coins that was going up and up and up. So I'll show you all the charts. From about 300, it went up. Yesterday, it was around 600, 550, 600. And since last night, it's been zooming up, and right now it's around, it touched 1,000, I think. And right now it's around the 980 or so. So basically, if you look at what happened, the volumes from Bitcoin, especially after the 2x fork, if it would have happened, and the pricing seems like went towards Bitcoin Cash. And unfortunately, the user base, Bitcoin user base in the US, well stranded, because most of the US holders are in Coinbase or GDAX, or some in Bitrex, and none of these exchanges offer Bitcoin Cash. So although they probably would have wanted to be part of the Bitcoin Cash, there was no way for them. So all the altcoins took a dip, and we look at them, some all the way from 5% all the way to like 15%. So it looked like a bloodshed today, especially for those in the US and maybe Canada too. But for the Asian folks and the Korea and maybe whoever was having access to Bitcoin Cash exchanges, they probably had a better transition to Bitcoin Cash and made up some of their losses. I'm guessing. Okay. So with that, I will start sharing my screens. Give me a moment, and we'll go through. Um, okay, so we'll start with my blog page, the daily blog page. It's called daddycrypto.com, and I'm sure most of you have been to my blog page. And when you do go, it comes to my Facebook page called Daddy Crypto. Okay, and out here I post at least once or twice a day with all the critical updates that probably matter to you. Okay, I don't put any junk here because time is precious for all of us. I just post what I think is relevant to my audience. There are a lot of sites that talk about other things, but I try to focus on only what kind of matters more from trading and pricing standpoint with focus on Bitcoin. So this is my BTC wallet, and if you like what you see, feel free to donate. So this helps me keep up the site and and keep up with all these updates. Okay, so this was from about half an hour back. So Bitcoin was around 6828, and here is the uptrend. I'll show you live, but in the last 15 minutes, there's been a good uptrend by about $100 from 6750 all the way to 6828. Ethereum lost about 6%, and Litecoin lost about 6 to 7%. Okay, so that's from a Bitcoin Litecoin standpoint and Ethereum. So feel free to go through the site. Some of these have a lot of information in one small page. I know this is an iChat, but feel free to look at this. This shows all the altcoins in one place along with Bitcoin, and everything is red except for Bitcoin Cash. Let me see if I can zoom this in. And so yeah, so Bitcoin Cash is at 975, right? And the only other one is ETC. I've been telling you guys for quite some time, if you have been following me, that these two coins, both Ethereum Classic, which is now at $15, it was up from $10. This was a good buy. If you have been following me, I've been mentioning this ETC for about a week now. Ever since it started going up from the 10 mark, I've been talking about this every day. And then also BCH, I've been talking about it every day since it was 350. Okay, so if you followed me closely on what I was mentioning, you probably would have got the price trend and where it was going. Dash is one more which is positive today. The rest are all negative. Okay, sorry, the BTG, which stands for Bitcoin Gold, it's not traded anywhere to my knowledge except Bitfinex, and if you're in US, you can't trade in Bitfinex. So there's no point in talking about Bitcoin Gold because it's not available in the US. It's only there in the Bitfinex exchange. Okay. With that, let us. I want to show you a correlation to this chart. So in this one chart, you can see that this is a Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash. So this is Bitcoin. It was going up, and there was a slight pullback, and then again it went up, a slight pullback, and this was the peak of 7,800, 7,900, and then this was what we saw till yesterday. So before the crash. Okay, so let's pause there. If you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin was around cash, BCH. This is Bitcoin Cash from Bitfinex, and this guy, so Bitcoin Cash was around the 300, 350 till the time this started taking off, and Bitcoin Cash also started taking off. Okay, so when there was a slight pullback, there was a slight pullback here, and then this was last night, the straight line. So it was around here till mid, like I mentioned, till yesterday it was around 600, 650 mark. Okay, so when Bitcoin was 7,800, Bitcoin Cash was 650. So when this slide happened last night, the reason this happened was because of this. You can see here the spike, mostly from Korea, from the Bitstamp exchange. It just took off from 600 all the way till 1,000, and right now it seems like it's pulled back a little bit. You can see the highs was 1,020, and lows right now. It's a low today because today was it was close to the 900 most of the day. It's around 980 or 990. So as this was going up, obviously this was pretty significant jump. This started coming down all over the world. Okay, although this was happening mostly in Korea, and like most of Bitcoin miners are kind of flip-flopping between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. So they flip-flop based on how difficulty the mining is, and wherever they make more money, they seem to be switching sides. And most of the miners, are in Asia, and are very influenced by what happens in Asia by the Chinese and the Koreans. And I'm guessing that the miners also switched sides and they started mining more, going towards Bitcoin Cash. And as this zoomed up, this came down. And it's good to see that there was a resistance level at 6,500 close to. You can see it came down to 6,400, but you can see the solid green line come back up. And right now it's around 6,800. I hope the downtrend is kind of completed for now, and it will stabilize and go up. When this goes up, so this got to come down, I'm guessing. Okay, and the only way both will go up is if there are new funds coming into Bitcoin and at Bitcoin Cash at the same time. Because altcoins are lower, and if Bitcoin continues to go up, then altcoins will not come back up as quickly. So the only way for altcoins to go up is for Bitcoin Cash to come down and the prices for Bitcoin to stable. Okay. I know it's kind of a little hard to correlate, but this picture should show you what I was just talking about. Okay. One more chart I would like you to see is this one. So Bitcoin Cash, even at close to 900, was up 43% today, but this was from 7 hours back. Right now it is over $1,000, so it crossed above. In the last 24 hours, this guy has gone 60%, and everything else is red. So obviously, the pumping of Bitcoin Cash by this group. I don't know who all are involved in it, but I'm sure it's more than one person. It may include the Bitcoin Cash folks and the miners. They all kind of ganged up against Bitcoin. So it brought down Bitcoin by about 19%, and it brought all these coins, altcoins, some of them as low as, look at Tomisigo, it's down 20%. Look at Ripple, 14%. Look at IOTA, 17% down. Litecoin, 11%. Ethereum, 10%. How can just one coin be up 50%? It just doesn't make sense, right? So obviously they gained the whole thing, and let's see what happens. I'm sure Bitcoin will regain its prices. If you look in essence, if you add up these two, it is 7,500, 600, and that was the Bitcoin price. So basically, the 2x would have been around this 800, 900. Bitcoin Cash took over the 2x, and the Bitcoin holders did not get the 2x coins. So in essence, I wouldn't call it stealing, but in a way, the Bitcoin holders would feel bad because they could not get the 2x coins, and instead they could not buy Bitcoin Cash because it's not available in the US or most of North America and Europe. But it was only available in Asia, and the Koreans picked it up. So that's kind of what happened, and I'm sure the market will react to this, and the prices should come back. Okay. Again, guys, this is my theory of what would have happened. I'm not suggesting that that's exactly what happened, but when you look at the broader perspective of what is happening and why only people were buying Bitcoin Cash only from this Korean exchange, it all makes sense. Okay. So let's go back to this, the live pricing, and let's see where we are. It's very good to see the pricing go up. I wonder what happened to the chart. So Bitcoin right now at 6837, and I don't know why the charts are not showing up yet. Yeah. So the 5-minute candle, Bitcoin did go up all the way till, oh, that's really nice jump. It went up to close to 6.9. So it's trying to, again, this is an upward trend. You can see that it's over the moving averages of 12 moving average, meaning that it's bullish right now. So it has been bullish since the afternoon. So it's basically, if it's over the red line, it is bullish, and if it's under the blue line, this there's a pullback. So, and the red line is the 12-day moving average, and it's going really good. And it's not come down under the red line, which says that it continues to be bullish. And I'm sure it'll later tonight it'll touch 7,000, 7,100 or 200. Okay, it'll be interesting to see what happens to the Bitcoin Cash price. Okay, and I will show some of these screens. This GDAX. Some of you have asked me questions. I will show, but give me a moment. Let's look at Ethereum. This was kind of a little bit disappointing. So Ethereum was doing well yesterday. No, this was today. So let me look up since yesterday, so you get a better picture. So Ethereum was well, this was yesterday. Okay, yesterday noon 320, 329. Yesterday morning. Yesterday, if you look up my video, I did talk about highs for Ethereum. When I looked up all these candles, I did count. If you look up my yesterday morning's video, I said this is a pretty big steep right for Ethereum, and around this 329, I called it tops based on what I saw, and I was hinting that there may be a pullback, but I thought it would stop at 320, 324 in the morning yesterday. But when this whole announcement happened with the whole 2x thing, it just drastically came down, and ever since last night, it further came down to 290. I'm glad to see it's back up at 303, and I think this is kind of the sweet spot for the average price for Ethereum. Okay, so I can feel the pains of Ethereum investors. I know a lot of you have bought the coins earlier on when it was around the 400, because Ethereum topped at 500, and since then it's trying to come back, but it touched a low of even 180, and from 180 it came all the way to 300, and during the forecast week or two weeks back it touched 350, and if you bought during then you again are trending lower from then. So Ethereum, I'm very neutral with Ethereum. I like the technology. I'm a technologist. It's an excellent platform, but because there's not much limit on Ethereum. It's a good platform, but from a trading standpoint, if I was to rate them, the top three, I would put Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum as the third, just for the fact that it has unlimited tokens, and all the ICOs that are coming up are dependent on Ethereum, which is good in a way because they're using the technology, but if anything happens on the negative side, it has a negative impact on Ethereum. So be aware of that. Again, this is just my personal opinion. Okay, you do your own research and go from there. Litecoin. Litecoin. Let's look at our daily candle, and we'll come back. So the Litecoin peaked close to $70 on October 14th. Okay, I wanted to show you where Litecoin was with respect to where it is today. So from close to $70, this was from yesterday. So it was doing reasonably well. Litecoin was around the 60s, 54, 55 for like week to 10 days. Then in the last 2-3 days, it gradually started to this uptrend from the 50s, and it closed this gap, and it was trending over the red line, which was good because it was bullish till 67, 68 yesterday noon, and then after the fork was announced, it came down a bit, and it tried to stabilize here around the 61 till last night, and when this whole BCH cash thing happened, it kind of came down to 56, 55, back to where it started about 10 days back, a week back. So basically, it lost all its gain from a week. But if you were holding Litecoin, hopefully you were able to sell some at these high levels and buy it back. But if you did not, then I mean, it's a good coin. It's good to hold in large numbers because it is pretty. It uses the same blockchain as Bitcoin, and it has a cap of about 85, 90 million. Bitcoin is 21 million. Same blockchain, but Litecoin is 8 times faster. So when Charlie Lee and team created Litecoin a few years back, 3-4 years back, they used the same base of Bitcoin, but they decided to have a bigger blockchain of 8 MB. Okay, so sometimes you keep hearing that Bitcoin is slow for POS. There's no reason for folks to use Bitcoin. Bitcoin should be used as a value. It's like a gold. You don't just mess around with gold. You just invest in gold and you keep it. It is a asset and not something you use as a currency for paying at POS and buying coffee or something like that. I think Bitcoin is better suited for that. And Bitcoin Cash is trying to push for it. That's why Bitcoin Cash also has 8 MB block, and they say it's very fast and low cost because they're trying to push with businesses as POS. I think Bitcoin should differentiate itself. The investors holders of Bitcoin know that it's a value of asset and not not currency or a POS kind of coin. Okay. The reason I'm mentioning that is this has a good potential. Okay. I really like Litecoin. Um, I've been looking at Litecoin since it was in the 30s. Okay. Then it went to 90, and a lot of us bought at highs. We were not fast enough to sell them off. We didn't expect it to fall as quickly, but it did. But at least now it's back to now 70s, and I'm sure it will come back to 70 pretty soon. It's a pretty solid coin. Its founder is very good, Charlie Lee and his team. They're excellent. They're very supportive of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin and Litecoin are very good pairs. So today everything is negative. Normally you see that if Bitcoin falls, then either Ethereum or Litecoin will be doing good because they're inversely proportional most of the time. So today it was directly proportional, meaning that if Litecoin was falling when Bitcoin was falling, because everything was going towards Bitcoin Cash, and they were dragging all the altcoins down. Okay, makes sense. Today was one of the unique situations where Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin are all 5 to 6% rate. Normally, you would see if this Bitcoin, you would see 3% less, then you'd see Ethereum to be in green, 2%, or Litecoin to be in green, because folks use this Litecoin Bitcoin conversion or Ethereum Bitcoin conversion to reduce their losses. But today it didn't work out that way. So obviously, there was some price manipulation done by Bitcoin Cash folks. That's my view, anyway. I could be wrong. That brought down Bitcoin pricing. Okay. So let's look at Bitcoin again. This is 1 hour candle. So the 5-minute candle, yeah, from close to 700, it's coming down a bit, but it's good. The trend is good. It's an upward trend. It's going in the right direction. Okay. So let me show you guys these three. So most of my users base is using GDAX, and they ask a lot of questions on how do you buy at market and how do you buy at limit, and they also ask questions around how do you transfer from Coinbase to GDAX. I'll do a separate video. I'm not logged into the systems. I will log in maybe over the weekend. I don't normally log into the laptops to trade. So I will log in and I'll show you how to do the transfer from Coinbase to GDAX. It's pretty straightforward. You don't transfer like a normal exchange to exchange. You just use the deposit and withdraw functions in here. Today, what I'll show you for the next few minutes is what is the difference between a market, limit, and stop. Okay. So let's first start with the market. If you know all this, you can just ignore. But a lot of people ask me this question, and they wanted me to record it so they could review it at their leisure time. Okay. So let's see. The Bitcoin right now is 3805, right? Live pricing is 3, and I want. Let us assume I already have Bitcoins in GDX, and I have 1 Bitcoin. So, but I want to sell only half Bitcoin. So I will put in. Sorry, I'll do the sell first. Two minutes. I'll be done. I'm doing something. I'll give you 2 minutes.